Welcome to another episode of Filmmakers Focus. I'm Doc Kennedy. This week's special guest is Phil Giordano. We're going to get to that interview in just a minute. Quick update on what's going on here. So, as you've probably noticed, we've been having 0 episodes for the last couple weeks. The reason for that is I had the opportunity to move, which I've been working on the last few months. So I got moved last week, and if you notice a little bit of an echo, I apologize for that. That's because the new place that I have to record just doesn't offer a ton when it comes to soundproofing, but that's okay. We'll make it work. I'm also testing some different options when it comes to releasing episodes. You notice this week, there's no theme music. I'm following in the footsteps of a couple of podcasters that I respect highly, Cliff Ravenscraft and Ray Edwards. They both decided to go with no music just to cut down on production time. And really, what's most important to you isn't, that it sounds just fun. The most important thing that we have to offer is the content, is the interviews. And that's what I want to make possible. And when I'm working projects like I am, I've had a lot of client work lately, which has been awesome. That kind of, it doesn't really help when it comes to editing the podcast. I need time to do both. So if I can cut down on the time that it takes to make an episode, I think that this is something that we could potentially get to 2 episodes a week if we just cut down on the what it takes to edit an episode. So we're going to give this a shot, see if this works for you. I mean, if you're just totally angry that there's no music, let me know, and I'm totally okay with that. But again, I think it always comes down to content. You know what? We're all in different boats, and I just want to give this a shot and see. I would love to get it to 2 episodes a week. So for now, we'll just stick with 1 on Mondays. We'll be back on track here, and I appreciate you giving me the time to get moved. Moving is not fun, so, but I'm glad it's done. I'm saving a ton of money when it comes to monthly expenses. So again, thank you for that, just time and patience with me on that. So let's go ahead and jump into our conversation here with Phil Giordano. Welcome to the show, Phil.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, this is exciting for me. You know what? I done some work overseas last year. I've talked about that a little bit. And I love getting to talk with people that are doing stuff outside the United States. I mean, I love making movies here. I love making movies anywhere, but it's awesome to see stuff that's going on around the world. And you have this awesome movie, Supot, that I had the honor of watching and thoroughly enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you.
Can you share with us a little bit about Supot and how that came about?
Yeah, sure. So, I'm originally from Staten Island, New York.
You're a little
Yeah, it's
ways
pretty
from home,
crazy.
huh?
Yeah. So, I decided I wanted to go to graduate film school. So, I was deciding to go to graduate film school at NYU in New York, or they have a campus in Singapore. And to be perfectly honest, I needed a change, and I decided on a whim to go to the one in Singapore instead. And what that allowed me to do was, like travel all over Southeast Asia, and like work with like filmmakers from that region a lot. I wound up meeting my wife here, and she's from the Philippines, and she'll always tell me stories about things from her childhood or things her friends experienced, and I find the Philippines extremely inspiring. So she told me a story one day about her younger brother, and that's what started this idea for this film.
That's awesome because really the film talks about the culture, and I don't want to give away too much, but it's a cultural film. I love the 2 people that played the leads. I thought they did a tremendous job. Can you tell us a little bit about what it was like going into the casting process?
So my film takes place in a small rural village in the Philippines. So for the child actors, I wanted them to be non-actors. I didn't want them to be like kids that did commercials and stuff. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted them to like be kids that like run around and get dirty. And in the film, they play a game called spider fighting, where they actually pick up spiders and they like train them, and they like they put them on they put them on a stick, and they wind up like battling. So for the casting, we actually did street casting, and we actually like we went into a slum in Lipa City, Batangas, and basically like we teamed up with this acting company, and they basically were aware of the kids in the neighborhood that like wanted to act and had been in some things, and they basically were just like one by one like kind of pull these kids off the street,
Wow.
and I would just give them different scenes, simple like with simple objectives, like try to intimidate your brother or simple objectives like that. It was pretty intense. And then for the adult actors, I got two of the I wanted more experienced actors. So the father is John Arcilia. He was in I saw him in the film called Metro Manila, which won Sundance.
Okay.
So he was a lead role in that. He's amazing, so charismatic.
Yeah.
And then the mother, they call her the indie goddess of the Philippines. So Mercedes Cabral is the mother, and she's been in just a slew of like independent feature films that have like went to Cannes and Venice and Berlin and things like that. So I have like the non-actors who kind of like get coached, a little bit by the more experienced actors. So it's a really unique situation.
How were you able to get the high end actors? Because that seems like something that might be a little bit tricky.
I mentioned earlier that I got my wife is from the Philippines, so when we were married, our ninong, which is kind of like your godfather
Uh-huh.
in the Philippines, he's a producer and a teacher. He was able to introduce us to managers and things like that. So basically, through my wife and through Elvert, we were able to like talk to different actors and luckily I got my top choices.
That's awesome. So, what were you, if I may ask, what were you using to shoot with? Because when I watched this film, I felt like I was there.
The cinematographer, he's from India. We studied together at Tisch, and we had seen a lot of films from the Philippines that like they're like very gritty, but they
Hmm.
weren't like very like beautiful, like romantic. We wanted to tell this like from a child's perspective, is very like romantic, like how a child views the world. So we shot on the Arri Alexa, and we shot on the Zeiss Ultra Primes,
Wow.
which are some really nice glass, and that's my favorite camera to shoot on. So Malay had just shot on that camera, and they won the Kodak Award for the best student cinematography. So we were kind of happy with the package.
Well, yeah, it definitely shows. I mean, that's high end stuff. So, it definitely did what you were looking for it to do.
Yeah, I mean, it is unbelievable. I really wanted to. I was watching like a lot of like Seven Samurai and like Paul Thomas Anderson and like Steve McQueen, and like I really wanted to incorporate like the elements. So a lot of the film also has a lot of texture. So we're constantly like like lighting things on fire to create smoke and using
Hmm.
water and earth and a wind, things like that. Like I'd always have my art team pumping a lot of elements into the frame, so be more dynamic.
I like that. It definitely popped. It looked like everything was kind of, a normal day in that village.
Yeah, in my prep, I had all these references, and I was like, I told my crew I want to like have like lots of smoke and things like that,
Hmm.
like in the background or just a little bit of texture in the air. But then I was like, I really want it to be natural. Um, but so when we were scouting, I was like, oh, thank God, because they just like they're always like lighting things on fire. Like they kind of just like burn garbage and
Yeah.
it's like they're burning things a lot. And I was like, oh, this is like amazing. Like this is like perfect. Like I'm not cheating.
That's great. So, what's your plan now? You've got this film completely finished. It's a short film. What is the end goal with getting Supot out there?
So I'm currently working on two feature film scripts.
Okay.
One is a full length version of Supot,
Okay. Great.
so it would just be like a bigger story of this short. So you kind of see the short, you kind of get an idea of what the feature is, and then the other feature film I'm working on, I'm writing is about a young girl from like from a province that like goes to the city and she tries to become like a billiards champion. Pool is huge in the Philippines and it's kind of like a Rocky story, but instead of boxing, it's for pool in the Philippines.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
you also mentioned that you're going to be submitting Supot to the Busan International Film Festival, and that's a pretty big deal over there. Well,
Yeah,
it's a
so
pretty big deal in general.
yeah, it's unbelievable. After I made the film, it's hard because there's so much competition.
Hmm.
Um, so we were yeah we're having our world premiere at the Busan International Film Festival in South Korea, and I don't have the official number, but a festival like this, about 5,000 films submit,
Wow.
and my film was one of 10 that was selected.
Wow.
So it's incredible. There's one other Filipino short film playing at the festival, out of competition. It's called Amago, and
Okay.
that went to Cannes, and that just won Best Film at Toronto International Film Festival. So just to give you an idea of like kind of like the caliber of films that play at this festival. So I'm so blessed and happy and excited, and I can't wait to go to the festival and meet people and talk about the project.
Yeah, yeah. So is your feelings? Like I would just be like flipping out that even you know what's this been like for you?
It's been amazing. I think as a filmmaker, you go through a lot of doubt, and it's just nice to get a little bit of appreciation. Like it's nice to know that someone liked the film because it's tough.
Yeah. Well, I think what's great about that is you're getting a lot of awesome feedback from your peers.
Yeah, so it was really great. So I made the film, and then I showed it to one of my producers, and then they showed it to a producer friend of theirs, who this guy, he's producer on a lot of like major like Filipino feature films.
Okay.
He does the work with Brillante Mendoza that it always goes to Cannes, and like they went to Cannes this year with their feature film Ma Rosa, and it won Best Actress. So that producer actually, he saw my film, and then he asked to be part of it, which
Wow.
is like unbelievable. So he's executive producer on the film, and he's kind of helping me get it out there in the world. And like my goal is to have more people see it. And I was talking earlier, before we went on the air, about I have like a nice European premiere that I hope we get, and another like hopefully in the U.S. also we have like a nice premiere. So
Yeah.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah. Well, and I believe it's worthy of that. So I really hope that works out for you.
Thank you.
After you've made a film like this, where you've gone out and you've actually done the grit, what are some takeaways that you would give to people that are listening? They're going out, they're maybe making their first short film. What are some thoughts that you would have coming out of this?
Oh man, first short film. Well, this is about my 40th short film.
Okay. But for
Because
that person that's doing their first or even, 20th or whatever.
sure, sure, yeah. Because in film school, you make something every single week, so and then they put it up on the screen and they tear it apart. For your first film, but you know what? Like to be honest, your first film could be great. What I would say is don't make something basic. Make something that. My biggest thing that I learned in film school was show your audience something they've never seen before. And that's the thing about my film is that my film is about traditional circumcision in a small village, where like boys aren't circumcised at birth; they're circumcised at 10 years old, and no, they strip down, they jump in a river, and they line up, and it happens one by one. And the guy that does it is not even a real doctor; he's just someone in the village. And if you're scared, you're seen as a coward, and you're branded as a coward forever. So it took some time for me to find this story and then find the conflict between the father. Um, so I guess two things I would say is if you're making your first film, don't make a first film about like some girl you have a crush on. I spent so many years like making these awful films about like my friends or like a girl I liked or something. Make a film that is like totally like out of this world. Like it's like it doesn't have to be like a small village in the Philippines, but like it's something that like a story you've heard, like or something from an article that you've read that's like crazy. Like you haven't seen 100 stories like this. You've heard one sliver of this once your entire life. And then the other thing I would say is you have to find the conflict. You can't have two people sitting around talking. So, like my film, there's a lot of conflict because the young boy, his father is the guy that performs the circumcisions. So it's like this huge slap in the face that he's like a coward because the father is kind of like the king of the village. So this boy has to like overcompensate He has to find another way to like prove to his father that he's not a coward, and prove to his bully brother that like he can stand up for himself. So it's really hard for him this whole movie. It's really like heartbreaking like how much he has to go through and the pain he has to endure. So that's my advice is like find the conflict, make it really really hard for for your character. They should want something. It should be really hard to get, and they should either get it or not get it. You know. Actually, what I learned is don't let them get it at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I
Like
loved
that.
about your film is I really didn't know what the outcome was going to be until the outcome came. There was nothing predictable.
Yeah, and my film ends a certain way, but there's if you actually look at a close up of the protagonist's face towards the end, there's a little uncertainty on his face,
Hmm.
and that's something we found in the edit, but which I really loved. Which it's not like a perfectly clear cut.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't want to give anything else away, but I
Yeah, yeah.
just recommend when you get the opportunity, people, make sure you watch this. So I got one more big question for you. You did mention
Sure.
that there's a spider fight in this film. I want to know
Yes.
how you cast the spiders.
Oh my goodness, it was unbearably difficult. Oh my God.
I'm sure you had a
They
lot of
they kept
contenders.
dying.
They kept dying.
Yeah, the casting was my production designer and I looked at different spiders
Oh,
and we
okay.
looked at colors and we looked at size and we looked at
Mhm.
like which is the best for fighting. Because also like you can't be too big because some of them are really big.
Yeah.
So little kid's gonna be holding it, so you don't want to hurt the kid. Um, and also I chose a red one as like the hero spider because it's just like a different it pops more than the
Yeah.
black one,
Yeah,
so
I
like you
like
kind of
that.
can track it better.
It did. It looked very exotic. Well, this has been great, Phil. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we say goodbye?
I guess visit supotfilm.com
That's
and learn more
awesome.
about the project.
Absolutely. We'll have links to that in the show notes. How else can people get in touch with you, Phil?
Yeah, actually, the best is the Facebook group. So if you could put in the link, put the Facebook group for Supot. You can please follow us there. We're always posting articles and festival premieres and things like that. And if anyone has any questions, they can message me on my Facebook, my personal Facebook, and you can check out my website, philipgiordano.com.
That's fantastic. And we will have links to that in the show notes. And we'll just say goodbye. Thank you again, Phil.
All right, thank you.